Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to RTA Virtual Motorsport here on Gantry TV. It is the RTA Mazda MX-5 World Series, and we are returning for round 7 of what has been a very entertaining championship. And our trip across the world takes us to Colin Chapman Way here in West Kingstown, Kent, in England. It is the famous Brands Hatch circuit, which many of our drivers have raced on in the sim, and even those racing on it in real life. My name's Dalton. It's a pleasure to be with you here this evening on the fields of Brands Farm. Ronan Hederman behind the scenes as always. Unfortunately, we have lost Kevin Galvin to man flu that all of us are suffering from. So Kevin, we really wish you a very quick recovery, because it's horrible, and Ronan will tell you that when he gets on the mic in a couple of minutes' time. It has been a very entertaining season in the Mazda MX-5 World Series that last week took us into Virginia International Raceway, and what a race that was. Controversy at its highest, but now we head to Brands Hatch, and we're running the Indy circuit here, of course hosting IndyCar. What we were racing in last season is 1.938 kilometers in length, just over 1.2 miles and 6 corners, but a race lap record held by Luis Garcia Jr. in his Renard in 1996. It was previously held by Scott Mansell, but just pipped by Luis Garcia. I think the quality record still belonging to Scott Mansell, but it is a very short circuit, only 6 corners, and we have an evening filled with good Irish October weather, and we have the season of Halloween and Christmas coming up soon, and I tell you what, we're getting a proper taster for those conditions here. Track temp of 39 degrees, but certainly there's enough rain and wind for a good day's drying. Well, not a good day's drying because it's raining, so that would be a bad day's drying, but there's enough wind for a good day's drying. We're going to get a lot of rambles like this evening, so make sure to keep your comments flooding in the Gantry TV stream chat. All you have to do is pop a subscription, and then you can type away to your heart's content. Good to see it filling up already. Hello, Ollie Meredith. Hello, Jordan Kelly. Hopefully we get our regular appearance from Johnny Hollywood as well. But practice just coming to a conclusion, and the weather radar for this evening is mixed. It's going to be the first time ever in RTA Virtual Motorsport that we have races in the dry and races in the wet on the same evening, if the weather radars are consistent. The likes of Jordan Kelly and Ronan Doherty will be looking to not rely on weather radars, because they had to on Saturday in Kyrgyzstan, and the weather radars were not very accurate, and the meeting got called off. But more on that later. Sticking with our Mazda MX-5 World Series, it is that man, Ronan Doherty, who was top of the championship standings. No wins last week in Virginia International Raceway for Ronan Doherty. It was actually the first week of the championship where either Ronan, Dylan or Sean hasn't taken a race win. And what in God's name is he running on the side of that car now? There's a salmon on the back. Certainly he's going to have to take to this circuit like a duck to water this evening. But I couldn't tell you what's on the side of the number 2. It's probably just another delivery he's taken off Trading Paints, and we're over-analysing this too much. Probably the less attention that gets, the better in reality. But it is Ronan Doherty who is top of the championship standings, ahead of his teammate Dylan McClements in second position. Conor Melia is in third, and Conor Melia coming into the season, well, I don't actually think he's racing, but oh no, he is, sorry, he's in 8th. Conor Melia coming into this evening, a very, very happy man after taking his first Selco.ie Formula V National Championship win at the weekend. Dermot Toomey is in 4th. What a season it's been from Dermot. What a season it's been for these two men as well, Robbie Callahan and Sean McGoldrick, who is 5th and 6th in the standings. Camto Chukua then in 7th, with Sean McClements in 8th position, picking up 45 penalty points, which is tied for the highest in the field. Evan Walsh then in 9th on 221, and Brandon McGaughan in 10th on 214. Brandon, of course, taking 2 wins last week in Virginia, his first 2 of the season. In terms of the B Championship, it is very competitive there. You can barely split these two. Dave Collier and Emma Dempsey. Emma would be in the lead of it. She hadn't picked up a 15-point penalty, but fear not, she is only 5 points behind Dave Collier. in what is a stellar fight at the top of those standings. Phil Upson is very much in contention as well on 140 points, and I know it would mean an awful lot to Phil if he's able to take the title in the last 2 rounds. Ronan Duffy then in 4th, and a Ross Wheatley in 5th. Ollie Meredith is off the back of his best ever week in RTA in terms of a highest finish. Finished 4th in heat number 2 last week in Virginia. He's in 6th in the B Series, with Ken Doyle in 7th, Danny Dempsey in 8th, Nathan Sweeney in 9th, and Gary Corcoran rounding us out in 10th position. So still a very competitive championship, as we're going to get qualifying underway. And qualifying is in the wet weather conditions. The entire field currently on the wet weather tyres, and you'd be a fool not to be. There is 2 compounds actually in these Mazdas, wets and dries, or at least going off for, oh my goodness, what have they, how is there that much gravel on the track already? What are they doing? Anyways, Paddock Hill Bend, the gravel's caught a bit of a visit to, and up Pilgrim's Rise is reminiscent of Bridlington Beach on the exit there. But anyways, what was I even saying? 2 compounds of tyres, yeah, so we have the wets and the dries, and going by Met Aaron's finest, Peter McCann, we should have some mixed conditions in all of the 3 races. So race 1 is looking like it will be in dry conditions, race 2 is up in arms, and then race 3 is looking like something out of Jaws. Pure wet conditions and a disaster waiting to happen. But let's ride on board then with Conor Melia, our new star of RTA, as he heads for a lap at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit. So down the Brabham straight into Paddock Hill Bend is the first corner, and you're just battling it through here. Do you want to use the curb? Do you not want to use the curb? I don't really think anyone knows the answer, but you're certainly avoiding that rumble strip on the outside in these conditions. Braking under the Carlube Bridge, used to be the Palmer Motorsports Bridge, and rounding through Druids of turn number 2. Then it's a downhill sweep towards the Graham Hill Bend. This one you want to run very wide on the exit, maybe not in the wet conditions, but certainly in the dry you're using all of that curb on the outside, and you're teeing it up down the Cooper Straight in towards Surtees. Usually it'd be a long sweep to the left, and you'd be getting ready for the longest part of the section through Pilgrim's Drop, but here you're just hustling it through Surtees, and Conor Melia soaring at the wheel, jinking it left and right, trying to get it through the Clark curve and back up the hill on the Brabham straight towards the start-finish line. Jordan Kelly's been your pace setter in testing yesterday and practice this evening, but Conor Melia is looking to challenge. He's set a purple sector free, and he's now gone to the top of the order, so we finally picked a good lap to go on board with for the first time in Gantry TV's history when we did it live. Conor Melia, quickest lap of the day, 59.4, and that was a very nice lap indeed. But you saw how difficult it is. That was the quickest lap. Imagine how much some of these other drivers are skating. So your time so far: Melia, Kelly, Toomey, Doherty, Danny Dempsey with a great banker time, just over the 1 minute. But you're realistically looking for a 59 here if you want to take pole position. It is a fast session. There'll be multiple pit stops in it, and you can see Ronan Doherty running all the way around through the outside here, just avoiding that inside. There's going to be some karting lines this evening, certainly avoiding the puddles and building up towards Brands Hatch's curves. But Ronan Doherty up and across the start-finish line, and you would imagine that's going to go pole. It is. Jordan Kelly in second now, so both pipping Conor Melia, and then it's Robbie Callaghan, the Kildare man, and Conor Melia once again back up the top. So it's entertaining so far. Qualifying, certainly. We don't have many oh, there's Brandon McGaughan parked over to the right-hand side. Peter McCann goes to 4th. Peter McCann with some motorsport endeavours in the previous week, maybe not to the extent of Conor Melia, but he finally got the Clio out around Montello Park and set a blistering 2-minute 01 on the International, which I don't know if it was a good lap or not. I've never seen a Clio drive around Montello, but I'm sure it was. Ronan Hederman has said something in my ear, but I haven't heard him. So compliments to the chef, Peter McCann, putting a good lap in. A 2 minute is very fast, according to an unnamed Mondello instructor. Jordan Kelly goes back to the top. I suppose it really depends who the instructor is, because there's some very good drivers who are instructors at Mondello, and then there's also some horrendous ones. So, you know, I'm saying that like I'm not, like there's a reason I'm talking about the race and not driving in the race. That's all I say. But I have beaten Dylan McClements like 3 times in my career, so that's something. He had a puncture, I'm pretty sure, in one of them, The other one I beaten by about a tenth, and then I can't even remember the third, which goes to show. But anyways, that's my level of achievements. Levels of achievements. Ronan Doherty went from V to Formula Ford at the weekend, qualified second behind a familiar name in these parts, Jason Smith. Didn't get to race his car, so he's finally scratching the itch of racing on four wheels as he heads up the Brabham Straight in towards turn number one. But this is becoming a bit of a shootout now between Melia, McCann, Doherty and Kelly. All four trading times, and Peter McCann is keeping it with the best here. Maybe these conditions suiting our latest Renault factory driver, or Alpine factory driver maybe even. It's a nice Alpine blue that he has the Clio done up in, and he does actually go quickest. Shut up, Evan Dalton, says Peter McCann as he comes across the start-finish line to go quickest. Did I see a new face on the side of that car or something? Or no, that livery hasn't been updated. No, that livery hasn't been updated. Thought there was something different on the side of that, but no, there hasn't been. Here's Kamto Chukwa in the number 14. Kamto, who's had a good season as well. There was a podium last week for Kamto. Took a second place in heat number 1 just behind Jordan Kelly. Took 5th then in heat number 3 behind Sean McClements, which was a fairly decent result for Kamto, but he'd like a little bit more. Would like the lofty heights of his Long Beach win. Or not his Long Beach win, sorry, his was it Phoenix? Certainly there was an oval win last season in the Indy car for Kamto Chukwa, so he'd like to take another win there. Still McCann, Kelly, Doherty in the fast qualifying here. It's only 6 minutes and 20 down, so we're still well over halfway to go in this one. Johnny has finally joined us. Hello, Johnny Hollywood, Mr. Lord and Saviour of the Gantry TV comment section. Great to have Johnny with us, who is saying he's fan dabadoozy. Well, I hope he didn't get pneumonia after being stood at the John Crosley chicane at the weekend, because that wasn't fun. Brandon McGowan slides it through. Brandon, who was also at Kyrgyzstan at the weekend, not racing, he just literally just arrived for a chipper and left, as far as I'm concerned, because there was no racing action when he arrived. But Brandon goes to 6th position. Took a little bit of a second. He's getting a tow off either Dave Collier or Jamal Gandor. Ollie Meredith improves to 13th. No Nicky out on track this evening, so just a lone Meredith tackling this evening's conditions. Here's Dylan McClements, who hasn't featured too much at the top of the times, but I'm sure this lap is going to change things, as it was purple in the second sector, tracking very well on the timing screen. Splits the beam, and he's going to go to the top, as you can expect. The only man to take 2 pole positions so far this season is Dylan McClements. Sorry, I've told a total lie, but Ronan Doherty has done it as well. One of 2 men to take a pole position this season, Dylan McClements, who is becoming a bit of a qualifying ace in these wet weather conditions. If you cast your eyes back to the Super Formula Lights Championship, which was well over a year ago at this point, he took his first ever RTA pole in very wet conditions there. I think it was our first ever wet qualifying session, but certainly the traditional weather of County Antrim and Northern Ireland on display here tonight in Brands. Oh, what's happened there? That was Peter McCann and Jamal, by the looks of things. Is it Jamal? They were parked in a very peculiar position, but I imagine it was Peter who did exactly what Dylan almost did. Let's have a look at the replay then. Peter McCann was definitely involved in it. I hope this isn't contact of some sort, but it's our first real incident of the evening coming here in qualifying. As there's going to be something that's going to... Oh, actually Peter went off all on his... Jamal, oh, that was slippy. Very slippy through there. Look, Jamal, I totally apologise. You literally had no involvement in that. Which goes to show that pigs maybe can fly. But Peter McCann sliding all the way off at the Clark curve and through Clearways. Well, I think Clearways is a little bit of the straight before it, but Peter McCann sliding all the way off. Sean McGoldrick, who's taking his drop round this evening, says, is that hail at Druids? It's certainly something. This isn't even the worst weather we're going to see this evening. It's going to get worse. Says, oh, Peter McCann. Oh, Drift Masters. Slides. Oh, no, not Drift Masters. Just drift through there. He tried to channel his inner James Dean, but unfortunately had the drifting skills of the actor James Dean and not the 4-time Formula Drift champion. Conor Melia, five-time Formula Drift champion, I'm being told by our Chevalier, the Drift Masters behind. Good year for James Dean and Conor Shanahan, but why am I talking about drifting? Anyways, this is what happens. This is what happens when you leave me alone with my thoughts for 9 minutes. Jamal Gandor is towing Conor Mealy around. Sorry, that's Dave Collier who's towing Conor Mealy around. The only difference in Jamal and Dave's livery is the big DC across the car for Dave Collier, which should be a bit of a giveaway. But Conor Mealy up and across the start-finish line, that is going to put him back onto the front row. But what a stellar lap by Jordan Kelly. 57.4 as they are all over Paddock Hill Ben's apex. And exit. Here is Ollie Merited. There's Danny Dempsey, good friend Danny Dempsey, who I'm not too sure what he's doing with his car, but oh, okay. I thought that was going to be much worse, really, but it wasn't. Jordan is back purple in the first sector, so let's take a look at the number 6, who evidently isn't on his keyboard and mouse this evening. Slides it through the final corner. Actually, he could well be. He seems to perform very well on the keyboard and mouse, does Jordan Kelly, but certainly when you give him a set of pedals, maybe even the Hori Apex ones, he seems to go quick, and that's going to be quicker again from Jordan Kelly. It's another 57.4, but it's a 57.418, and that puts him on pole and a just over 1 mile Brands Hatch by over 0.2 of a second, which is remarkable given how small this circuit is. It is by no means easy to pull a big gap around here, or certainly pull a big gap in qualifying, because everyone gets a toe off everyone and there's not a lot of corners to make a difference. So Jordan Kelly, excellent lap to go on pole by 0.2 of a second. Last time we raced here at Brands Hatch Indy, it was the opening round of the British Touring Car Championship. Well, it wasn't that long ago, and Jordan Kelly and Ronan Doherty were all elbows out, making contact a few times between themselves and with Oscar Mangan and with what's his name, Wayne Douglas, and yeah, it was an interesting race, a chaotic race, so I imagine we're going to get something similar here this evening. There goes Robbie Callahan to second position. Robbie is looking to win at a circuit other than Lime Rock Park. Hasn't done it in his RTA career, would like to do it here tonight at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit. He's getting a tow from Ronan Duffy in front of him, but look, slipstream is not going to be the be-all and end-all of this qualifying. It's about keeping your tub on the asphalt and just getting it through. Less than 3 minutes to go here in qualifying for the Mazda MX-5 World Series. It's Jordan Kelly on pole, Robbie Callahan in second, Conor Mealy is in, no, forget that, scrap that. Brandon McGaughan of Ballycastle is in third position, Conor Mealy is in fourth, Dylan McClements then in fifth, Ronan's already in sixth, so our 2 championship... Is that a speed checkpoint Danny Dempsey set up? He's not picked a great part of the track to set up a speed camera. He's kind of done what they do on the N7 every morning, and they set up the speed camera where you are literally doing 20 kilometers an hour because there's traffic, and it is by far the biggest waste of government funds ever, but that's for a different audience. Our 2 championship challengers are 5th and 6th, and they're rat aged like having more super milk that has been left out of the fridge for about 4.5 weeks. Dylan McClements on pole. He's looking for his 3rd pole position of the season. I evidently feel a little bit scared sipping my tea after that milk reference, but that's besides the point. Jamal Gandor goes to 11th. So now really the pressure is on Ronan. He's just towed his teammate round to pole position, his championship rival teammate, at a circuit where overtaking is not going to be easy. So Ronan Doherty has to put a lap in here if he wants to get back onto that front row and pip Jordan Kelly. We were talking, oh, he's not going to do that because he's hit someone or something. No, he's definitely hit someone. I think that's Paul Sheehan, who he has... Oh dear. Like, I don't really know how to remain diplomatic for that one, to be brutally honest, but that's Ronan Doherty's qualifying done. And we were talking about how remarkable it was. Jordan Kelly going on pole by 0.2 of a second. Dylan McClements is on pole by almost 3. And it's not looking like anyone is going to beat him. The track is getting worse. And it is another remarkable lap by the fire starter, the prodigy. And Dylan McClements is looking to take his 3rd pole. He's still pushing, but I don't think there's going to be much of an improvement here. A bit of a shuffle up in the field. we were watching Doherty, McCann, and Melia trade fastest laps at the top, but they're the top of the hour, but they're only going to share 5th, 6th, and 7th, which is quite disappointing. Robbie Callahan is still improving. He's come across the line, but it's not going to be enough to beat Jordan Kelly or Dylan McClements. He will remain in prime position on the second row. Dylan McClements up towards the line. It's a 57.6, so 5/10 off his pole position lap for the third time this season. And Dylan McClements starts on the front row alongside Buncrana's Jordan Kelly. Robbie Callahan in third. Brandon McGaughan will start from fourth. Conor Melia starts in fifth position ahead of Ronan Doherty in sixth. Then it's Peter McCann in seventh. Dara Halley starts from eighth. Another good qualifying for Dermot Toomey in ninth. And Cam Dutchukwa in 10th. Great qualifying. Jamal Gandor in the 961 Simsa car starts in 11th ahead of Danny Dempsey, Ronan Duffy, Ross Wheatley, Dave Collier, Ollie Meredith, Ken Doyle, Emma Dempsey, Phil Upson and Paul Sheehan to round out the top 20. And then we do have 21, David Prunty. No time on the board. Ronan Hederman, firstly, good evening. Secondly, how do you think this is going to go?
Good evening. I am absolutely up to the gills with Lemsip, and I've just finished it, and I already need more. This evening, 21 cars at the smallest grade, or the smallest circuit on the calendar that we're running, in the rain, with stones everywhere. So I'm kind of wondering, like, is the wet line that's full of stones any better than the dry line? I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah, I mean, if you're colourblind, you might confuse Brands Hatch with Silverstones tonight. Yeah, standard of jokes have significantly dropped when Kevin's not here. But well, you don't really have a choice. There's nothing else on the telly, so you're stuck with me and Ronan for the next hour and a half. Keep the comments coming in, folks, because as you can tell, we could probably do it, and we like to hear your reactions to the various incidents. If Finley Melvin was here, he'd be off and away with this one. He would be in the race lead now and probably taking the Indy circuit, even if we were doing the full one. Yeah, what a bloke Finley Melvin is. Our number one sandwich connoisseur, Finley Melvin. But we're going to get the red lights on fairly soon, and it will be his cousin Dylan McClements, who is on pole position. Jordan Kelly in second. Let's see who gets the better launch down towards Paddock Hill as Let's Let Battle commence at Brands Hatch. Here for the Mazda MX-5 World Series in RTA Virtual Motorsport. All tucking into line, single file down towards the long sweeping right-hander of Brands Hatch's first corner. Jordan Kelly is on dry tyres. I repeat, he's gone for mad strategy once again. So Jordan is on the slicks, and it doesn't look too bad, as a matter of fact. He's held position. Robbie Callahan is in second. Brandon McGaughan then in... Robbie Callahan in third. Brandon McGaughan in fourth, excuse me. And they've all stayed fairly clean at the start. A good start for Ronan Duffy. He's up 2 positions. Great start, Ollie Meredith. He's up 3. He's just overtaken his karting teammate, Danny Dempsey, in towards the Graham Hill bend. But we've almost completed the first lap, almost completed the first minute. We're going to get about 10 laps of action here in the Mazda MX-5s, and Ronan Doherty is challenging Conor Melia down towards the final corner, and Melia runs that little bit wide. No one else in the entire field brave enough to try the slick tyres. So let's see how this pays off for Jordan Kelly. He's acting as the cork in the bottle for now, with Dylan McClements soaring away in front, but the raindrops are certainly diminishing and decreasing in quantity here at Brands Hatch. So if this track dries, Jordan Kelly might have pulled out a strategical masterclass. He's gone for something different, as someone's gone off in the background. That is Dara Halley, apologies. Dara Halley, who's gone off. Disappointing for the one-time RTA race winner, who spun towards the back. Side by side, Robbie Callahan and Brandon McGaughan. McGaughan's got a try sweep at the long way. Oh, that's very brave for Brandon McGaughan, who gets all on the slippery asphalt, turns into Bambi on ice for a brief second, and then all of a sudden grips up, gets past Robbie Callahan up into the podium places. Conor Melia now diving on Robbie Callahan in front, and Callahan is fading and struggling in this race. He's going to have to brave it round the outside here if he wants to try and take 5th position. Not going to be able to get past. And Ronan Doherty might challenge now. There's a schism in the field between Peter McCann and Dermot Toomey. So we have our first place driver Dylan McClements, then we have second down to 7th, and oh, who's gone off? Robbie Callahan. So he was struggling in the Golf livery and just about stays on the one line and doesn't ricochet back in front of the circuit. So Robbie Callahan is down to 11th position, unfortunately. Very disappointing for Callahan. They had a good qualifying, had a good opening lap, but it's been all downhill from there. Jordan Kelly is really struggling now, and it's 2 seconds to the good of Dylan McClements in front. And he now has Brandon McGaughan, who is fighting him. Both these drivers would have raced around this Brands Hatch circuit. In real life, of course, it's been an up and down history at Brands Hatch for Jordan Kelly, and it's going to be all left and right in his car control. Heading for the final corner, big slide. Falls to the bottom of the queue, and oh, that's Robbie Callahan again. So Callahan again dropping to the rear of the field. He's now behind Emma Dempsey. Of course, Emma Dempsey fighting with Dave Collier for the B Series lead, and Emma is currently winning that fight. Oh, look at Conor Amelia fighting the car all the way out to the right hand side. Sorry, excuse me. It's been a good couple of weeks for Conor Amelia in wet conditions, so he's certainly used to driving in the rain. And that's a lunge from Jordan Kelly on Peter McCann, so he's got grip all of a sudden. Just look at how they're battling the cars here. This is a showcase of skill, if anything. How they're managing to keep it all on the asphalt is beyond my racing capabilities, that's for sure. My understanding of my own racing capabilities, most certainly. But what a lead this is for championship protagonist Dylan McClements. Johnny Hollywood saying, handling like a wet puppy on tiles. Yes, absolutely. Freshly polished tiles and a puppy with shoes, as Emma Dempsey has gone off and pulls to the outside of the track. Good sportsmanship, but unfortunately place is lost. So Dylan McClements leads by 3 seconds over Brandon McGaughan in second, Ronan Doherty in third, Conor Amelia is in fourth. Sean McGoldrick saying it has to be a mistake being on slicks. See, you would think so, but the brief definitely was that there was to be a dry period in this race. That is what Peter McCann told us anyways in Gantry TV, but clearly not looking like there's gonna be. There's not much rain in the sky, but the track is soaked. If you think a full Brands Hatch circuit is going to dry in 5 minutes, I think you'll be mistaken. But Conor Amelia is trying to get past Ronan Doherty. He has thrown out the bait. Will Doherty fall for it? And Conor Amelia is looking to go down the inside of Paddock Hill Bend, but that'll be chopped off by the 4-time in a row RTA runner-up, but the multi-time champion at the same time, Ronan Doherty. Dara Halley's got past Phil Upson in the battle for 14, so Halley is looking to recover from the earlier race mishaps. Emma Dempsey, unfortunately, getting the mechanical flag. We'll have to pull into the pit lane, and that was Jamal, who will also join Emma in the pit lane. When two become one, they cannot be separated. Let's see what happened to Jamal. It's 2 separate incidents this time for Emma and Jamal, so we won't have to head back to divorce court once again. Has Jamal gone off all on his own here, or has he hit the side of someone? He's just lost it. Just caught grip and spun at 360, and Jamal... Oh, Danny did a good job of that, actually. He did a very good job of that. Could have been much worse for the young man, but Jamal unfortunately in the pits. Oh, look at this. Jordan Kelly now has got grip, and he is ahead of Ronan Doherty, so the slick tyres are slowly starting to work here at Brands Hatch. And Jordan, whether it be a mistake or not, is still in the podium placings with less than 4 minutes to go of heat number 1. Took his first win of the season in heat number 1 last week in Virginia International Raceway, did Jordan Kelly. Of course, he's been 11th in the championship 3 times in a row, and even if he can't race much due to work commitments, he'd still like to be above that 11th and inside the top 10, and he's going the right way about it with some podium finishes when he can race. There was 4 podium finishes last season for Jordan Kelly, and that's championship leader Ronan Doherty, who has spun it heading through the Clark curve. That is a big mistake for Doherty, but I think he's going to get away with it, not losing too many positions. He's only fallen to 6th place, but the ball is in this young man's court, Dylan McClements. at the front. He's going to take the maximum sweep bar mistake in the final 3 minutes of heat number 1 as Conor Melia sideways now. We have everyone auditioning for LZ Fest next year. I hope Ronan Hederman's good friend Dave is watching and is going to pick up some new talent for his new course in Mondello Park. But Peter McCann is on the heels of Conor Melia now, trying to get past the aforementioned drifter. But he's not going to get past just yet. Emma is back out running laps. That's who you're seeing in the background. She's not just had a remontada of all time and has come back to 6th place, unfortunately. She is lap traffic at this point in the race. I thought we just cut to Jamal for a second. I was going to say that's a... Oh, Dave. Imagine, you finally get a bit of screen time. Time to show off all the spa I'm around. But anyways... Conor Melia and Peter McCann still sideways. Jordan Kelly has gone off in front. Still not really catching Brandon McGaughan or Dylan McClements though, is Jordan. So we're probably very close to the crossover for the tyres. Peter McCann and Conor Melia holding it side by side. Conor on the outside, Peter on the inside of the Druids corner, and look at Conor Melia trying to fish it all the way around the outside. There's no grip there with the stones on the circuit, but he is still down the inside here of Peter McCann, and let's see, can he keep it? Conor Melia has got the job done, has he? Peter McCann, holds it round the outside. Brilliant bit of skill from the Leishman, and Peter McCann is back up into 4th place, holding on to it for dear life. We will have one more lap at this one. We are lapping... Or will we have 1 or 2? No, we'll have 2. We're lapping in the 57s, so we'll have 2 more laps of Brands Hatch Indy for Conor Melia to try and get past Peter McCann. Dylan McClements doing a good job at the front, but fastest lap now belongs to Brandon McGaughan, and that gap is coming down. Dylan on the last lap did a 58.2. Brandon McGaughan on the last lap did a 57.3, and he's done 3 57.3s in successive laps. So Brandon McGaughan is having a late surge here, and he's looking to try and maybe take the race win. He would need more than just a 57.3 though, if he'd like to take it off Dylan McClements, because Dylan seems to be back up to speed. It must have just been a mistake on the last lap for the 2-time RTA champion. And in towards the final corners we ride on board. Bit of lap traffic now for Dylan to deal with. This could get very chaotic in Heat 3 if we have this much lap traffic after 10 minutes. I can only imagine how much we're going to get, maybe 16, 17 minutes into the race. So white flag is out with 10 seconds to go. We'll have one more lap at this one. Jordan Kelly starting to cut through some blue flag runners already. Peter McCann and Conor Melia mightn't have to deal with that. They just have to fight amongst themselves here for 4th place and a high scoring position. Either way, as Brandon McGaughan's gone off. Brandon McGaughan has gone off, and that's him parked to the right hand side just before Druids, and that is a big mistake for Brandon McGaughan, who is demoted to 6th position behind Ronan Doherty. So Doherty and McGaughan, it's certainly an evening of mistakes for the Antrim lads, for all bar Dylan McClements, who has 2 corners to go here in the opening heat of the evening. It's very difficult conditions at this circuit. Certainly difficult conditions to run single file, let alone side by side, which is what McCann and Melia are trying to do. But Dylan McClements will take the opening heat here and keep his championship hopes alive in the penultimate round of the season. Jordan Kelly is going to come home in 2nd position. He'll be followed by his VRA teammate Peter McCann in 3rd spot, and a great podium for Peter. Not his first of the season, took one in Okayama at the top of the calendar, but that is a good podium there for Peter McCann. Conor Melia comes home in 4th, as Danny Dempsey has just been swept up by Dara Halley. So Halley has good pace, the lap times are there. Dara Halley was quicker than Dylan McClements and Jordan Kelly on the last lap. He's quicker than them on the lap previous as well. So Dara Halley has good pace when the track opens up. We're just waiting on Phil Upson to bring us home. So your full classification of heat number 1 here at Brands Hatch Indy. Dylan McClements takes the race win. Jordan Kelly in 2nd. Peter McCann then in 3rd, with Conor Melia in 4th. Ronan Doherty is in 5th position. Ahead of Brandon McGaughan in 6th. Then it's Camto Chukwa, who takes 7th. Dermot Toomey in 8th, ahead of Robbie Callahan in 9th. And a good top 10 for Ronan Duffy in 10th position. Holly Meredith in 11th, ahead of Dara Halley in 12th. Danny Dempsey in 13th, Phil Upson in 14th, and it's Dave Collier in 15th, Ross Wheatley in 16th position, and Paul Sheehan in 17th, Ken Doyle, Jamal Gandor, Emma Dempsey. And unfortunately, no running from David Prunty in that one. Sean McGoldrick saying Dara's really built into this season. He's becoming properly fast. I wholeheartedly agree with you, Sean, because he's really picked up the pace, and there were some good lap times going in there. I would contend with him maybe to get on the reverse grid here, which you could well do, but no rest for the wicked, as we like to say. It is a bone-dry Brands Hatch, but we have split tyres, top two on the slicks. Peter McCann has opted for the full wets. There's no gridding from Paul Sheehan, but battle commences at Brands Hatch once again. And you can see the tyres on the timing tree on your left-hand side. It's a poor start for McCann, but of course it is expected to rain, so that's what he's holding out for. Oh, look at the slide from Dylan McClements, and race leaders off into the gravel. It's wet, there's puddles, and Dylan McClements is now Peppa Pig, ending up in the gravel, not able to contend with that, and that is off. And a big mistake from the young man, and the championship pendulum has swung massively at this point, because Ronan Doherty is up into the race lead and doesn't need to be asked twice, but Brandon McGaughan braves it round the outside. He has nothing to fight for points wise. He is simply going for a showcase of his talents to attract all those sponsors to fund another LMP3 season. But Brandon McGaughan is into the race lead, and that is, oh, that's Jordan Kelly who's gone off. So first and second from heat number 1, down the back for heat number 2. And there is Ollie Meredith involved in that, as is Ross Wheatley, as is Jamal Gandor. This has taken a turn. Danny Dempsey's up 8 positions. Ken Doyle is up 9. Ronan Doherty up 3. McGaughan up 5. Callahan up 5. Emma Dempsey up 6. Let's have a look. Jordan Kelly's miles out on the grass here. We're going to have to look at it a little bit earlier. He lost it all on his own. A man of Jordan Kelly's talents, losing it all on his own. That's 2 big mistakes. That was unpressured from Dylan McClements and Jordan Kelly. And who's that? An unfortunate innocent victim, Ross Wheatley, I think. And God, poor Emma almost got clipped by Jordan Kelly as well. What a controversial start. Look at the pit lane. You think it's qualifying. The pit lane is like a testing session. Oh no, that was the safety car. It's not as busy, but Jordan Kelly is the 7 in the pits. We have a Long Beach 2.0 here, and this is probably the chaos we expected from earlier on tonight, maybe. And this is when the track was at its driest. But yeah, Ronan Hederman making a good point. The top 9 are all on wets, so the track is not dry. It was not ready for slick tyres, and anyone who went for the slicks has gone off. There was no fighting it through. I'm very surprised at Jordan, because he was the only one who knew sort of where the track was at in terms of slicks on the wet. And oh, there's Ronan Doherty, who's gone off as well. No one wants to win the championship. Ronan's gone off. He's not lost as much time as Dylan McClements, but let's have a look at what happened into Druids. Seemed to be that he lost it on entry. He was off in the middle of the corner, and he has just overcooked that tenfold, almost clipping Peter McCann and Robbie Callahan. He's reversed off the racing line excellently, but and Emma Dempsey gets involved in it again. But Dylan McClements, Ronan Doherty, Jordan Kelly, all making mistakes in the first 3 laps of an RTA race in wet conditions that they usually grab with 2 fists and thrive in. It's Brandon McGaughan and Robbie Callahan who are doing the business. Brandon McGaughan certainly leading by 1.8 seconds. Peter McCann is in 3rd. Ronan Duffy and Danny Dempsey 4th and 5th. Oh, but he's tackled Paul Sheehan, and off the circuit goes Ronan Duffy. And that was Paul Sheehan, who he was lapping, but very unfortunately has gone off the track. Just when things were looking good, I immediately commentator cursed poor Ronan Duffy. Danny Dempsey is up to 4th here in this one. What did I say about Dara Halley on the reverse grid? I didn't really mean it in this fashion, but he is on the reverse grid. Somehow Ronan Doherty is on reverse pole in 8th spot, but I can't imagine that has going to change. Johnny Hollywood's brought up Monaco 1982. We're certainly getting to that point. Expect a wild Olivier Panis to come from somewhere. and try take the win here in RTA Virtual Motorsport. Who would be our Olivier Panis? We've no French drivers, but I keep an eye on Ken Doyle there in 7th. He seems like he can just keep it on the asphalt and get up to the front. Of course, I love to mention it, but check out the Link Motorsport Man's YouTube videos. They are excellent on RTA Virtual Motorsport and really well edited. Does custom graphics and all for them, so check that out from Ken Doyle. But enough of the promotions. Danny Dempsey is under pressure from Dara Halley, and Dara Halley needs to be careful here going up against the squad car, and Halley is up and ahead. That is about as good as you can get in going for that move. Here is Dermot McQueen to me on his inside now in 6th spot. No, that's not. That's Ollie Meredith who he's lapping. Kevin goes for 20 minutes, and I forget that Dermot Toomey is sponsored by Teng Tools. Sorry, Kev, but it is the Teng Tools sponsored Dermot Toomey. That is Ollie Meredith in the Lightning McQueen car, of course, who is just still somehow fighting with Danny Dempsey, even if he's not on the same lap as him. But Dara Halley very defensive, and Dempsey, admittedly, Ollie Meredith actually not doing his teammate and friend any favours here by sneaking a wheel up the inside of Danny Dempsey when Dempsey is trying to pivot a move on Dara Halley, but I don't think these two would have expected to be fighting for 4th given their results just 6-7 months ago. But I didn't mean to say that. Please, none of the young lads clip that. But Danny Dempsey in 5th spot, looking to take his best ever RTA Virtual Motorsport result. Aldi took it last week. Danny, whatever you can do, I can do better. Ken Doyle up 11 spots though. Emma Dempsey up 6 still, even if she is down in 14th. Robbie Callahan up 7. Brandon McGaughan up 5. This has been a very unique start to heat number 2. I've made a blunder, and Johnny is correcting me on my F1 knowledge. Yes, Panis was in 1996. 1982 was the race. Nobody wanted to win. Who won the 1982 Monaco Grand Prix? I can't remember, to be brutally honest, but I know there was like a million. Oh, I do remember, because it was ironic. It was Riccardo Patrese, wasn't it? And Patrese is the one who was the most DNFs in F1 history. Maybe. I could be very wrong, but Kevin Joyce is the man for this trivia, not me. Mr. Encyclopedia himself. Anyways, back to RTA, something that I do know a little bit better. And we're 7 minutes into this one, and Brandon McGaughan is still in the race lead with Robbie Callahan in 2nd. That's not a sight you see. Jordan Kelly's about to be lapped. That is not a sight you see every day, but Jordan Kelly is unfortunately going to be a lap down. And interestingly enough, there is still a few running the dries. Conor Melia is still out on a set of slicks, as is Dylan McLennan, so they're just looking to fight through. And you wouldn't need a graphic to see that Conor is on the slicks just by the way he's taken the final corner. As I actually did get something right, it was Riccardo Patrese, who has one of the best names in Formula 1 ever, I think. Really nice name to say. This is a very weird, niche commentator thing, but some names are nicer to say than others. Patrase's made win 5 retirements from the lead. Madness. We almost had that here this evening. Brandon McGaughan, keep it on the asphalt, or we definitely might beat that record. There's Paul Sheehan going a lap down, unfortunately. He's down in 20th position and last of the runners. Still a no-show from David Prunty, who I think is still suffering from tech issues like he was in the past. As things get weirder, that is your reigning defending champion Dylan McClements, who's just been lapped. So Brandon and Robbie are on a warpath here. They are on a warpath. After 8 minutes and 20 seconds of running, they have lapped the top 12. Ken Doyle. He won't be our Olivier Panis or our Riccardo Patrese, as he falls down to 9th position. Let's have a look at the replay. So heading into turn 2. Does he lose it all on his own on exit? That would be my guess. Yes, just overcooks it, unfortunately. Power down a little bit too early in the slippy conditions, and that's very disappointing for Ken. It's a mistake he won't make again, that is for sure. So Brandon McGaughon's still in the lead. Ronan Doherty is in 6th position. It's all quiet on the Western front. here in Brands Hatch. Of course, we're racing on the Indy circuit. It wasn't IndyCar that raced here to speak, but it was an IndyCar in the Champ Car Series. Here's Ronan Doherty on Danny Dempsey, as we'll hold that bit of trivia for a second, and Ronan Doherty is up and ahead. Good move on Danny Dempsey in the new liveried number 2 machine. Dermot Toomey is looking to try get past Danny Dempsey as well, but can't for the time being. And Ronan's actually gone very wide once again, but he's just about hooked it in. You can't really see him with Danny Dempsey, but there is Ronan Doherty on the exit of the corner. Yeah, it was Champ Car that raced here back in 2003, and it was Sebastian Bourdais who took the win. An excellent win for him, but Paul Tracy took pole. 37 seconds was the qualifying lap, so if you think we have a quick laps here tonight, that was even quicker. If you want to watch a very entertaining video, Google Paul Tracy. I think it's punch-up highlights or something. Conor Amelia was showing me it a few weeks ago. It's a highly entertaining video. He was a nutter, and I don't think he'd mind me saying that because he liked living to that up to that reputation. That was Ollie Meredith, who was spun round that you just saw heading through turn number 2. Unfortunately, out of this one already was Ollie, so he just seems to be pushing it, seeing what he can extract out of the car in preparation for race number 3. We've been mentioning Carters a lot this evening. A big welcome to Ian Carey, who's watching and cheering on Danny Dempsey, a fellow cadet racer, or certainly that bracket of karts. Not sure if he's in the Miami Cadets, is Ian, but he's certainly racing something in the class, and Ian, a successful racer himself, who we'd love to have an RTA. Get yourself a sim from the Sim Consultants and a nice iRacing subscription, and you can join us here in RTA Virtual Motorsport, and that is open to absolutely everyone. We're looking at a Formula V racer, and of course we will be pivoting to the Formula Vs for next season. And if you are one of our Formula V Ireland racers and you're looking to not leave the door as open as Conor Amelia did, you can get a discounted rate, so make sure to message Rob about that one. But Conor Amelia has just had the wool pulled over his eyes by Camto Chukwa. Conor is on the slicks though, so that is his excuse here. He is on the slick tyres. Camto now makes it a full wet tyre top 10, so the slicks just hasn't worked in this one. The deficit was too great, it was too difficult to handle, and unfortunately both Conor and Dylan running 11th and 12th. Brandon though, what a drive this has been. Ronan Hederman, any thoughts or feelings?
No, I actually just said in your ear there, this has gone very quiet because the gaps have opened right up here. So, yeah, prediction relatively right. It's anyone's race, and Brandon just, I think, avoided the chaos and is profiting.
What a bit of trivia that's just come into our stream chat though. Remember the 2003 IndyCar race I just mentioned? Johnny Hollywood was a marshal at it. That is... Johnny, like, I think I've said this like once or twice too. You are the coolest bloke I know. And it's not like, even though, like, who else is a trained paramedic, racing marshal, drives the medical car, is a rugby referee? Like, who just casually whips out that, oh yeah, I put Paul Tracy's car out when it went on fire at Brands Hatch in 2003. Like, I'd be telling the world that. I, like, successfully walk up the stairs and everyone sees about it on Bois Motorsport, but that's, like, besides the point. Very cool, Johnny. Very cool. Brandon McGaughan was still in the race lead and looking untouched. Like, this is not the type of race you want when you're doing a solo commentary. I can tell you that for free. Not a lot happening, but our reverse grid pole is going to go to not Ronan Doherty. It's our other Ronan, Ronan Duffy, who will lead an RTA race to green for the first ever time in his short or... I thought he almost binned it. That would have been horrible, but yeah, he'll be leading a field to green for the first time in his short RTA career if he can hang on. Brandon McGaughon's just pumped in the fastest lap of the race. We are lapping significantly quicker, actually. Yeah, this is a weird one. We're lapping significantly quicker than we were in heat number 1, yet the wet tyres are performing better. So, I don't know. It was a fastest lap from Brandon McGaughan. It's just been beaten by Ronan Doherty, who has just set a 55.8. So this is very strange. This is really, really strange. There's a dry line now, Ronan Hederman is telling me, so that probably makes sense. But I wonder will the wet start overheating, but certainly you can do the Michael Schumacher tactic, pulling off that dry line to get a bit of spray on the tyres and see what happens. But Brandon McGohan 1 lap to go. He's just been given the white flag till he takes his 3rd RTA win of the season. Ronan Doherty is pushing Dara Halley through the corners, looking to extend his points gap at the top of the championship standings. Of course, Dylan McClemens' results last week have not really done him any favours because he cannot take a drop round because he did receive a penalty, which was very disappointing. Actually, Jordan Kelly's win last week in heat number 1 in Virginia was actually the first non-team DDR win since Robbie Callahan in round number 2, which goes to show the stronghold that the two McClemens brothers and Doherty put on this. But there hasn't been a Team DDR winner since Jordan Kelly took that win. There has been, sorry, I've totally lied. Dylan won heat number 1. But there has been 3 Brandon McGohan wins, and Brandon is going to take heat 2 here in some style. 4.5 seconds, and an excellent win for McGohan. Robbie Callahan is going to come home in 2nd place, and Peter McCann, 2nd podium, is going to come home in 3rd. It will be Ronan Doherty who leads home Dara Halley in 5th position. And then what a drive by Danny Dempsey, who's going to come home in 6th. It was looking sketchy at points for Danny, but he's held on. And look at the melee following him. Dermot Toomey is going to lead home Ronan Duffy on the reverse pole. And there was actually Ollie Meredith involved in that one as well, I think. Here comes Ken Doyle home in 9th. So Ronan Duffy, Dermot Toomey, reverse front row. Not something you see every day in RTA, but it'll be a good one nonetheless. So we will hopefully hear from our top 3 in a few moments. Certainly Peter and Robbie eager to join us, but we'll run you through the full classification first and then we'll hear from our top 3. So it is Brandon McGohan who takes the race win. 2nd place Robbie Callahan, then it is Peter McCann, Ronan Doherty, Dara Halley, Danny Dempsey, Dermot Toomey, Ronan Duffy, Ken Doyle, Camden Chucko, Conor Mealy, Dylan McClemens, Emma Dempsey, Dave Collier, Jordan Kelly, Ross Wheatley, Phil Upson, Jamal Gandor, Ollie Meredith and Paul Sheehan, with no running from David Prunty. Let's hear from your race winner, Brandon McGohan. Brandon, big congratulations. A 3rd race win of the season. Interestingly enough, wet tyres the choice in that one, and you kept it on the asphalt and pulled the gap.
Yeah, I mean, the start was pretty tricky because obviously there was a bit of a mix-up on the tyres. So Dylan and Jordan went straight on. Then it kind of left me, Ronan and I think Peter going free wide, free druids, which was interesting. But yeah, when I got the lead, just didn't push too hard, because I knew it wasn't going to rain again. And with wet tires, as the track dries, they just get worse, and they just start cooking their ears. So just kept it as smooth as possible. Didn't push too hard, and it worked out at the end. Like the last 4 or 5 laps, when the track started to properly dry, the gap just stretched out nicely.
We saw Ronan and Dylan sort of taking it a little bit conservative, thinking of the championship. You, on the other hand, is it safe to say some of the bold and brave moves we're seeing is due to the fact you're not in a championship battle and you're just here to have fun?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I don't have too much of the championship to worry about because I've missed a couple of rounds and all, like I'm out of contention. So yeah, just going for wins. I mean, to be fair, there's been nothing too well. I mean, other than binning it in the last lap of race 1, just Dylan was getting closer and closer, and I just got a bit too greedy in turn 1. But yeah, other than that, nothing's been haven't been throwing anything too rash. Just nice clean racing. We've enjoyed it.
You won Heat 2 last week. You won Heat 3 last week. You won Heat 2 here. What do you need to do to go for the win again?
It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be full wet again, and I'll be starting 8th. So really, keep it in one piece. I know Dalton's gonna be starting far down. It seemed to be me and him really had the pace in race 1 when it was fully wet. So I think keep my nose clean and get near the front. Obviously, Jordan and Ronan. I think Jordan will be coming up free as well. So depends how fast Jordan and Ronan come up. But I'd say it'll be a good race anyway. I think it'll be a race of attrition. 20 minutes in the full wet around here.
Brandon, thank you very much for that insight, and all going well. We'll speak to you again in about 20 minutes' time.
Good man, cheers.
So good to hear from Brandon McGahan. Let's hear from second place Robbie Callahan. Robbie, congratulations. Second spot, Heat 2 going a little bit better than Heat 1.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that at all. When I lined up on the grid and I saw all the cars around me on slick tires, and I thought it was over. And then the first corner, I think it was Dylan and Jordan go flying off the track, and it was just like happy days.
Yeah, it looked very sketchy out there in the first couple of laps. What did it feel like?
It actually felt fine on the wets. It was the end that got a bit dodgy. On the second last lap, I think it was, I was like millimeters from losing it. I was in the grass and everything, and I nearly died. But,
Heat
yeah.
three, Heat 3 then, what's on the cards for yourself?
I think it's to be fully wet, like wetter than we've had all night. So just try and survive, I'd say. That might be enough. Don't have to be fast as long as I stay on the track.
Robbie, best of luck for Heat 3, and hopefully we're chatting to you again afterwards.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's hear from third place while we have a minute, Peter McCann. Peter, steady as you like, really, this evening.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know where this came from. It just kind of jumped on at 9:15 and it kind of clicked. I don't know.
He does one lap in a Clio and thinks he's Max Verstappen. This has been
Yeah, it's
pretty
the test
decent
day.
from you.
The test day has played out for me big time now, yeah.
Could we see a miraculous McCann victory in Heat 3?
I don't know. Your man from Carlow Weather says it's full wet for race 3 now, so I'll say.
You're our Met Aaron correspondent in the commentary box here this evening, so I'll trust what you say for now. Full wet tyres then?
Yeah. I'll tell the boys we should go dry and see does anyone actually make the jump.
Grand, we'll see Jordan on the slicks anyways.
Chat to you, boys. Thanks a million.
Chat to you, Peter. Best of luck for Heat number 3. So good to hear from the lads, first, second, and third. And Ronan, we're expecting a tsunami, it seems.
Yeah, I think the lads will have learned their lesson after that last one and stick out the full 20 minutes on the slicks. Very, very unusual because I'm pretty sure Jordan sets the servers, so he should have known better. Let's be real, to call a spade a spade.
Sorry, I just want to 100% confirm Jordan does set the servers.
Yeah, okay, yeah, exactly.
Let's
So
not leave this in the balance. He picks the servers, he picks the weather conditions.
yeah, so yeah, it's a case of wow, well done. But yeah,
He's been given 4 of a kind or whatever it is in poker, and he's folded.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, I think they'll have all learned their lesson. We'll know now in the next minute or so.
Sorry to any poker players that I'm just offended by not having a clue what I'm talking about. But anyways, Ronan Duffy on pole position. Dermot Toomey in second, Danny Dempsey in third, Dara Halley in fourth. And then it is Ronan Doherty in fifth. Actually, all the top 5 have at least one of their names start with a D. That's an interesting fact. I think that's the first time that's ever happened in RTA. Peter McCann in sixth, Robbie Callahan in seventh, Brandon McGahan in eighth. And it is Ken Doyle, Camto Chukwa, Conor Mealy, Dylan McClements 11th and 12th. And it's safe to say they are all on the wet tyres now, given the fact you can barely see the cars gritting up with the weather conditions. Then it is Dempsey, Collier, Kelly, Wheatley, Upson, Gandor. Jordan still hasn't gritted, still considering the slicks. Meredith, Sheehan. Unfortunately, we're not going to see David Prunty as our 21st car tonight. But the red lights are ready to go, and it is a dull and daunting Brands Hatch Indy circuit awaiting our Mazdas as we go racing for the final heat this evening. Good start from Ronan Duffy in the front row, but Dermot Toomey is challenging in towards Paddock Hill Bend, and the Teng Tool sponsored number 13 is trying the long way around the outside, but Dara Halley splits the 2 and gets the job done right down the middle. Cool as you like, into the race lead. We said he had pace. He's got bravery as well. And then Ronan Doherty, championship leader, is up to second position. Peter McCann is in third. There's a car park, and Dylan McClements has been tagged as well. And off and across the grass goes Callahan. Very lucky he didn't get sent across the wet grass and slid into the path of our race leaders. So Halley has survived at the front. Involved in that opening lap collision was Jordan Kelly as well, who's down the back of the order. So Jordan Kelly has not had the rub of the green since heat number 1. Emma Dempsey battling with Conor Mealia and Ollie Meredith. Meredith on the outside of Emma Dempsey now. But Emma stays in front for the time being. What great racing we're having at the start of heat number 3. Dara Halley thunders into the race lead and whips it round Paddock Hill Bend. Ronan Doherty in second, Peter McCann in third, Ronan Duffy is in fourth, Danny Dempsey in fifth, and it's Brandon McGaughan, Dermot Toomey, Camto Chukwa, Conor Melia, and Ollie Meredith. No longer Melia, he's been pipped by Dempsey and Meredith as he's ran off through Paddock Hill Bend. He's going to have to try pin the throttle very early, exiting turn number 2. If he wants to get ahead of Ollie Meredith, he has got ahead of Ollie Meredith. Would like to get ahead of him as well, I would imagine. So the top 3 all up 3 positions, and Danny Dempsey defended from McGaughan, your Heat 2 winner. Brandon feels he's a lot to do, and Danny Dempsey slides his way, and a chat at the final corner holds it straight and gets back on the asphalt, somehow not losing more than one position. He's lost 2 now, but that was just due to the poor exit. Name I haven't mentioned this evening is Camto Chukwa, who is up to 8th position now. So Camto up 2 since his starting spot of 10th, wide again from Brandon McGaughan. Dara Halley's doing a very good job of the lead of this race, extending the gap to Ronan Doherty that little. Here is Danny Dempsey fighting back with Dermot Toomey, and this is going to be all elbows out from both. In towards the left hand. Good move, great move from Dermot Toomey. Gets it done. Camto Chukwa looking for the switchback manoeuvre and just gets on the inside of the police car. And Camto doesn't need to be asked twice. Oh no, Ronan Duffy, very disappointing. Conor Melia gone as well. So 3rd in the championship has spun round, as has Ronan Doherty. We'll try it again. As has Ronan Duffy, who's gone round. I'm too used to saying Doherty. Ronan Duffy, who had a great start from the pole, held on in the top 5. Let's have a look at this. I imagine he's gone round all on, or has he? No, sorry, this is Dylan McClemens we're looking at, and that's the Ling Motorsports Ken Doyle. Does something happen to... No, it hasn't happened to championship leader. There's Conor Melia, who just go whoop, whoop around. And, yeah, that was just aquaplaning across the puddle, it seems. So both himself and Ronan Duffy falling to the foot of the field. Well, not quite the foot. Conor Melia to 15th, Ronan Duffy to 12th. So still points, but like if you're Conor Melia at this stage in the season, the 15th place is dire. It's not great. It's still not going to kill his buzz, but it's not great in terms of an RTA perspective. Dara Halley slowly coming under pressure from Ronan Doherty behind, who's just pumped in 2 purple laps consecutively, and he's lapped 0.4 of a second quicker than Dara Halley on the last lap. Here's his championship rival Dylan McClemens, who dives down the inside of Danny Dempsey. That'll be a fairly straightforward move for the double champ. And that's a mistake for Camto Chukwa, who goes aquaplaning off the track. And Dylan McClemens might look to capitalise on that one as well. Doherty backs out. Doesn't fancy it down the inside of Dara Halley, because he knows there might be a little bit of a slide in the braking zone for Halley. And he runs that little bit wide, and that allows him to get on the inside. He'll have the outside line through this next right-hander. Not going to go for it. Doesn't lunge it up the inside Jason Smith style either. He'll sit behind. He'll wait his turn to go for the race lead. Dylan McClemens not able to get past Camto Chukwa either. So both the teammates holding firm for the time being. There's someone on their side. That's Ross Wheatley, who has become a sidecar for a moment. And that is Ross practically out of this one. He will have picked up significant damage. Let's have a look at what happened here between Ross Wheatley, and I would like to think he made contact with someone else, and he didn't just discover how to go on his side in the Mazda all of a sudden. Let's see, as he came through. Oh no, he did he? Slides through there. No, there's a VRA car. Bonk. Out of me way, Kelly. Gets the job. Oh, and Ken Doyle decided to put an added effect in the background. That's probably not the best way to overtake someone, Jordan. And through that corner of all you should know, Dylan McClemens is on the back of Dermot Toomey, and he's on the inside here. And Dylan is going to push Dermot Toomey to the outside of the final Clark curve and just take 5th position 14 minutes left to go in this one. There's still easily a podium on here for Dylan McClements. That is without question. Is there still a race win on for Dara Halley? He survived 6 minutes and 20 seconds with Ronan Doherty within a second of him. So that is... Ronan, were you coming out over the stream on that one? Oh no, sorry. Ronan saying that Dara Halley picked the dries at the last minute! Speaking of the last minute, Ronan Doherty chucks it on the inside. Takes the race lead. Sorry, Ronan Hederman was saying that Dara had picked the dries but changed to the wets the last minute. But it matters not now because his race lead is gone. And Ronan Doherty is into the lead of this one. Here in heat number 3, which could be a massive and all but mathematically championship confirming win for the boy from Dunloy. But Dara Halley, will he have something to say about this? He's not fallen off the face of the earth yet. Okay, almost did. He ran through the gravel. He's gone to build a sandcastle, that's for sure. And Peter McCann says, I'll have that. Could Peter McCann maybe have his miracle win? Could it be the miracle of McCann this evening? That sounds like something else. As Peter McCann looking to take his first race win in, I want to say 4 seasons of RTA. I think his last win was the LMP2s at Spa, where he beat Jason Smith in that phenomenal Heat 3. As all know, Danny Dempsey. Danny, who has had a very strong night tonight. So, who's that? That's Jordan Kelly, whose bumper is obstructing his vision. Dylan McClements suffered that same fate at Lime Rock, where his bumper was obstructing his vision, and he was almost driving solely with instinct at one point. Jordan Kelly is going to be doing the same here. 12 minutes to go. Quite a long time to drive with your bumper in the air. Driver of the Day nominees, get them in, folks. Johnny got his in earlier, saying Peter McCann. Like, No, that's doable. There's a slit underneath the bonnet. I don't know why I'm pointing at my screen. There's a slit underneath the bonnet. Is there any way we can look at the perspective of Jordan Kelly to see what he's seeing? Probably not. Oh, there we go. That's not too bad. A man of his talents should be able to do that. You literally cannot see the track. You can't. You can't see the track. You can just about see your braking markers, but like if you miss your turning point, you're goosed. So if Jordan manages to finish in the top 10 with that, or even in the top 50, if Jordan Kelly manages to finish, then that's very impressive. So fight for third, we're looking at between. Fight for first we're looking at as well, actually. Peter McCann is challenging Ronan Doherty from the race lead just in front, and he's gone for the outside as Peter McCann. He's trying the long way, doesn't want to trail off the circuit, and just breaks in time to not end up on those stones and end up in the gravel at turn number 2 of Druids. Ronan Doherty still in the race lead, Peter McCann in second, Dara Halley and Brandon McGaughan, the top 4 all within each other, and we may have had some boring moments in the earlier heats, but this is not one of them. This is a scintillator here in heat number 3. There goes McCann. Off the circuit he goes. We're down to 3. And that is very disappointing for Peter McCann, who has 2 podiums to the good tonight and was looking for another. Still might get it if there's mistakes in front, but he's hit a wet patch and has gone careering off the circuit. Let's have a look on board, or let's have a look at the replay even. He was challenging Ronan Doherty for the race lead. What has happened here then? I think it's very similar to what happened to Conor Melia, where did he touch the curb? He touched the curb. And that has sent them. Oh, yeah, Peter McCann's going to be kicking himself. There was a real opportunity for the maximum 30 points here in this heat. He'll still get a strong result in 4th or 5th. But that's not what he wants. Wants the race win. Won't get it, unfortunately, unless Ronan Doherty, Dara Halley and Brandon McGaughan all make mistakes, which they could well do. Speak of the devil. Speak of the devil. Dara Halley has just made a mistake. They could well do, he says he does. And Dara Halley has gone off Peter McCann's back onto the podium placings. Oh, this race is nowhere near over yet, is it? We have 2 of Antrim's finest at the front, Ronan Doherty and Brandon McGaughan. It's the first ever time, I think, where I'm watching them, where I'm not confident that both of them will stay first and second. There is more mistakes in this race. There's more opportunities for a surprise winner tonight in RTA Virtual Motorsport. We've not had a surprise winner so far this season. It's all been drivers who earned it with their pace. Conor Melia, Robbie Callahan, Sean McClemens, maybe not regular winners as much as they would like to be, but they're all the quickest in their race. There could be a surprise winner here tonight. This is Ollie Meredith you're looking at. Jordan Kelly is just weaving his way through traffic. Actually, when he's behind someone, this has to be horrible. Could we get an onboard, potentially, Ronan, of him behind Emma Dempsey? Oh, Lord. Ah, lads. How are you supposed to drive? Oh, it's not much better. So, look at it going through the spray. He literally can't see anything. This is Hunger Games stuff. This is just surviving on instinct. And the thing is, he's just overtaken Emma as well. Ah, it's no. It's like McQueen. How is he doing this? I can't even laugh because of a cough. But how is he doing it? How is he overtaken? How is he overtook? So, like, the odds of Jordan Kelly being able to do that is like less than Pigs being able to fly, less than Sergei Sorokin returning to Formula 1 winning the World Championship, less than me winning the Northern Irish Formula 4 Championship, less than Ross Wheatley winning this race, less than Ronan Hederman maybe having a successful racing career once again I don't know why I've just insulted poor Ronan. That was unnecessary. He has a flu. But, like, here goes Dylan McClemens to the outside. Sorry, we have to return to somewhat professionalism, but my mind has just been blown by how Jordan was able to keep it on the track. That was Kevin Joyce saying active aero. Yeah, that's Adrian Newey's latest project. Is let's put the bonnet fully up and the air will shoot under it. It's still going. He's still going. It's like a Top Gear car at this point. Wasn't there a Top Gear car where the bonnet opened every time? This is why we have the bonnet closers that I know that are on the Z-Techs and are on the Seat Super Cup cars. We need a few for Jordan Kelly's Mazda. Yeah, he's not been meatball flagged. He's not been black flagged. He would definitely be meatball flagged in real life, but he hasn't been. So, carry on, sunshine. Brandon McGaughan going for the race lead on Ronan Doherty. And that is Dylan McClemens and Peter McCann fighting. McClemens is ahead of Peter McCann. This has been some fight back from Dylan McClemens in heat number 3, because he is overtaking drivers of very good pace. But the race win fight is still on here between Ronan Doherty and Brandon McGaughan. I just can't get over Peter Griffin on the bonnet when he's on that camera. It's just quite funny. Sorry, I'm a child. Anyways, Brandon McGaughan in the slipstream of Ronan Doherty. That is a soaked Brands Hatch. If this was Formula 1, we are under a red flag. But these titans and chariots of sim racing in Ireland are going to carry on, and Ronan Doherty is going to defend in towards Paddock Hill Bend. They both slide their way through. There is no grip for either of them to find here in Brands Hatch, but they'll find it. They'll find so much more than that, and Ronan Doherty's rear has stepped out, and Brandon McGaughan sees that as an invite, sees it as an opportunity. He's been pushed onto the asphalt, and Ronan Doherty somehow is still in the race lead. He is in the race lead on pure passion and pure grit. Definitely not pure grip. And Ronan Doherty remains in front and showing why he is a multi-time champion. Oh, the bonnet's down. Jordan Kelly has seen again. And he is no longer just heading towards the bright lights of St. Peter's Gate. He can see it. And, well, he can't really. He can just about see the martini strip of Conor Melia's car. He can just about see the roll cage. Like, how is he correcting that? Jordan Kelly is such an interesting being, but this really is sort of the peak of his talents, I would say, is to keep that car on the track. He's having the time of his life, I know that much. But anyways, we're back to serious competition once again. And it is Ronan Doherty who's still defending from Brandon McGahan. Does this bring you back to the F4 or the Super Formula Lights Championship between Dylan McClements and Jordan Kelly, when Dylan McClements really brought himself onto the RTA scene and really proved that he was a future champion with a defensive effort of the aegis to stay in front here at Brands Hatch? This is very similar from his cousin, who definitely doesn't need to make a name for himself with all he has done in Irish racing. Let's see, can he remain in front? He has 3 minutes and 15 seconds to stay in the lead of this race, heat number 3, to put one hand on the virtual trophy. He's clipped that curb at Paddock Hill Bend, that's not ideal, but he'll remain in front nonetheless, and Brandon McGahan is just going to back off. This is the peak of Tuesday night entertainment. What else would you be doing? Miriam O'Callaghan on prime time is not this entertaining, I can guarantee you that, folks. Gantry TV is the spot to be on a Tuesday night. RTA is, and this fight between Ronan Doherty and Brandon McGahan could well be unreeling in the ears in a couple of years' time, but it probably won't. But anyways, let me carry on. About 3 more laps to go for those two. Peter McCann is still looking for a trifecta of podiums, and he's just staying behind Dylan McClements for now. Is Kevin Joyce saying better than the presidential debate? Yeah, we actually have personality here on Gantry TV, so definitely better than the presidential debate. But, well, how many All-Irelands has Ronan Doherty won? Quite actually a nifty hurler is Ronan Doherty, playing for... I think he played for Dunloy anyways. Ballycastle, a good hurling team as well. They beat my team in a final about 10 years ago now anyways in Ballycastle, but I digress. 2 minutes to go. Ronan Doherty still remaining in the race lead in the number 2. Brandon is doing everything he can at this point to try and get past and win Heat 2 and Heat 3 for the second consecutive week. Dara Halley is still in contention in this one. So all these 3 have made mistakes in this race, and all 3 still fighting for the podium, which goes to show the pace they have, the pace advantage they have on the field. We will have 2 more laps to go for the battle for the race lead. Oh, what a chance this is for Brandon McGahan. Ronan Doherty will defend into Paddock Hill once again. He knows once he parks this car on the apex, there's no way for Brandon McGahan to get past. And that got very sketchy between the two for a split second. And the 2 Mazdas came very close to contact. But Brandon McGahan is trying the outside here on Ronan Doherty. He's looking for it. Can he make it stick? No, not quite. Still Ronan Doherty in front. Can you believe it? Is Brandon McGahan gonna keep it on the inside? Yes, he is. What a fight this is. And Brandon McGahan finally sees a bit of daylight. Not looking at the rear, but it was only for 2 seconds. Ronan Doherty's got back in front. And McGahan still on the outside. How have they not come to blows? How have they not come to spoils? How is there not contact being made between these two? This is one of the best battles you have ever seen in sim racing. And we've got 1 more lap of it at a soaking wet Brands Hatch Indy here in West Kingsdown. It has been a battle of pure spirit. And Brandon McGahan is the one doing the defending now. Can Ronan Doherty pull off one last big move? He's got a slide on heading through Paddock Hill Bend, but Brandon McGahan's run wide. The opportunity is opened for the Dunloy man once again, and Brandon McGahan is just chucking the car around the corners, hoping there's something left in his tyres, hoping there's something left in this car, and this has been excellent. Ronan Doherty looking for a big lunge in towards the final couple of corners, but he knows he has a championship to contend with. Brandon McGahan doesn't, and at the end of the day, that extra 1% of risk might just win this one for McGahan, but he's got 2 more corners to nail, and they're not easy to do so. Ronan Doherty is still sent it, but Brandon McGahan persevered. He kept trying and trying, and he is going to take the win here at Brands Hatch for the second time this evening. Bravo, lads. What a fight here at the RTA Mazda MX-5 World Series. This is why this is Ireland's premier sim racing series. Dylan McClements comes home in 3rd to save his championship ambitions. Peter McCann, unfortunately, will have to settle for 4th. What a fight. That is peak racing. and exactly what we're about. Brandon McGaughan and Ronan Doherty should be very proud of themselves for the spectacle they have produced tonight, and what might be a blistery, cold, lonely evening for some has turned into one of pure brilliance. And that is with thanks to the spectacle we have seen from two of Antrim's finest. We still have a fight in our hands between Ronan Duffy and Ollie Meredith, but it is going to be Ronan Duffy who will bring it home in 12th. Savage, as Kevin Joyce said. Savage. That was brilliant. I really enjoyed that one. As Johnny Hollywood saying many years ago in an Uno race in Mandela, they allowed a driver to finish with the bonnet up. So there you go. You wouldn't be mechanical flagged for another feat that Jordan Kelly achieved in that. But let's run you through your full results, and then we will hear from your top three of Brandon McGaughan, Ronan Doherty and Dylan McClements. That is your podium, and Peter McCann comes home in 4th, Dara Halley in 5th position, and Kamto Chukwa in 6th, Dermot Toomey in 7th, Conor Melia in 8th, and Jordan Kelly in 9th, Emma Dempsey in 10th, Jamal Gandor in 11th, Ronan Duffy in 12th, Ollie Meredith in 13th, and it was Phillips and Paul Sheehan, Ken Doyle, Ross Wheatley, Danny Dempsey, Dave Collier, and very disappointed for Robbie Callahan actually. We didn't really touch on that, but a non-finish in 20th place. And unfortunately, no running from David Prunty once again. Let's actually bring in your top two together then, because I think they both deserve a word after that fabulous fight. So Brandon McGaughan and Ronan Doherty, who we're going to bring in together. Lads, unbelievable. Just take a bow, because that was cracking. We'll start with Brandon, and after so many laps of Ronan defending, how did you find a way through?
Yeah, it was definitely hard. Ronan did a real good job defending. You know, it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be coming up to him. You know, I had a bit of pace on him, and you know, eventually Peter and Dara made mistakes, so it was just me and him, and it was just kind of I left it till the end to throw risk. You know, started putting a bit of risk into it. Like anything I was throwing up until then, Ronan just had covered. You know, no matter what way I came at it. So, real good race, and yeah, to be going door to door like that in the wet for so long, you know, it's and not crash. You know, it's definitely it's a good showing.
Ronan, you absolutely threw everything to try and keep him behind, parking on the apexes, just sliding it through the corners. Did there come a point when you thought, right, I can keep him behind?
Yeah, sort of towards the end, I thought I might be able to hold up, but nah, I'm terrible in these in the wet. Like even in Donington, I won the last race the same way. Like 4 people had like half a second behind me, and I was just parking the bus. But I don't know what it is. I just have no pace, so I kind of have to use a bit of racecraft to try and get a result.
Back to you, Brandon, just quickly on the 2 wins. That's now 4 wins you have this season. Of course, we have our big spectacle next week in Bathurst. Will you be looking for 2 more?
Absolutely, yeah. I love Bathurst. I haven't done it that much in this game, but it's just one of the bucket list tracks. Like, definitely want to drive it someday. So yeah, I'd say it should make for some good racing. You know, kind of like Virginia last week with the long straights. I'm gonna assume we'll not get rain there, for everyone's gonna die.
I don't know. Jordan's been on a mad one the last few weeks, so we'll see what happens.
I hope that's try. That'll be good
He'll
fun.
be on the slicks anyways, we know that much. And Ronan, of course, in Bathurst, it's a very different prospect for you. You are finally looking to become the bride and not the bridesmaid once again and wrap up this championship. The ball is in your court. What is the approach going to be heading down under?
Yeah, well, so I'm very lucky. Like the first half of the season, I picked up 7 or 8 wins, so I kind of just done all the hard work, which means that I can kind of just relax a bit more now and just make sure that I'm finishing ahead of Dalton a bit, and he's had some bad luck too. So yeah, looking forward to Bathurst. It'll probably be just kind of like Virginia, like your pace just doesn't really matter. It's just going to be a complete and utter towing session.
Lads, thank you very much for that. You gave a lot of people a great bit of entertainment this evening, and I thought we just had to appreciate it both together because it was a fabulous fight. Brilliant wins from Brandon and good efforts from Ronan as always. Congratulations, and I'm sure without a doubt we'll be speaking to you again next week.
Good stuff. Cheers.
Cheers.
So now we'll let them two go, sort out whatever they have to, and we'll bring in our 3rd place man, Dylan McClements. Dylan, congratulations on the podium, but probably an evening that you won't be too pleased with. Of course, you did take the win in heat number 1, but heat number 2 went begging, and then a great fight back in heat number 3. We'll start with the positive, I suppose. You did take another win in the first heat.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the whole night, I feel like I've had good pace, but made that wrong decision on race 2. It just really put an end to that race. And final race, I contact the first lap, so I'm happy considering the consequences and what happened. But I mean, in terms of my pace, I'm happy with it as well. So I suppose it's not a bad night, but maybe for the points it might be.
In terms of those slick tires, do you know why they seem so bad? Because certainly the track seemed better from our eyes, anyways. But I know it might be different for you guys on the ground.
Well, I mean, from the replay before Jordan, it looked bone dry. I should have looked. You can actually see if the track's like slightly wet. I didn't look at that. I just thought risk it. I mean, if I had any hope of winning the championship, it'd be maybe a race like that. But I think championship's out of the road now. But sure, I'll just keep going for wins anyway.
In terms of Bathurst, is that a track you're looking forward to?
Well, I haven't driven it a long time, but I think it'll be carnage because the straights are that long. Like you could be first one lap and then fifth next straight. So, bit interesting one, but hopefully we do well.
And when it came down to the clutch last season, you had to beat Ronan in every race you did. Is that just going to be what you're trying to repeat?
Well, I think Ronan nearly has to have 3 bad races or something like that. I'll look at the points, but it seems a bit far out, so I'll just try my best, get a win, not even worrying about the championship, and see what happens.
It was a bit of a Will Buxton question, that one, I will admit. Like, are you going to try to beat your championship rival? No. Don't think that's something you ever say, really, Dylan, is that you're not trying to win, but congratulations on the win and the great fight back to the podium, and I'm sure without question, no matter what, we'll be speaking to you next week.
Right, cheers, Evan.
So great to speak to our podium once again, and unfortunately we didn't get to speak to our driver of the day driver in the end, but I think it's been fairly unanimous that tonight's Gantry TV driver of the day is Peter McCann. Brilliant racing from Peter this evening. Of course, we don't typically give it to the winners, but Peter on the podium twice and could well have been a third time with a stellar showing. Ronan Hederman, any final thoughts?
No, predicted chaos as usual, especially like this track combo, the rain, the gravel thrown up, and say the limited amount of places that you could do the overtakes. And you know what? I think Brandon deserved that win. He threw all the risk in the last couple of laps. He obviously knew he had the pace. He waited out and waited for just the smallest bit of a gap on Ronan, and once he was in front of him, he kept a sizable gap to take that win. It was fully deserved.
I couldn't agree with you more. Brilliant win from Brandon. And a big thanks, folks, to you all at home for tuning in. Apologies for turning into a bit of a preacher on the last couple of laps. I just thought that was an excellent spectacle. Your support always greatly appreciated here on Gantry TV. And we will be back next week for the season finale on October 7th at Mount Panorama, Bathurst, for the final of the Mazda MX-5 Cup. Is it Ronan Doherty's crowning day, or can young Dylan McClements maybe throw a spanner in the works once again? Without question, we got you covered, and we will have a fabulous B Series fight as well. You can check out all the updated points before next Tuesday on rtavirtualmotorsport.com. And of course, a big thanks to our partners, motorsport.ie and the Sim Consultants as well. Your outlet for news and your outlet, well, not really an outlet, I suppose, somewhere where you can buy sim equipment, the best in the country. So make sure you check out the Sim Consultants if you want to get in RTA. If you're a Formula V driver watching, we will be racing Formula Vs next season, and remember, you do still have a discounted rate on entries next season for the RTA Formula V Ireland Championship. So that is something you're going to want to get involved in. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Myself and Ronan Hederman are off for 2 hot whiskies and lemon. Stay safe, stay well, and we shall see you next time. Slán go fóill.